It's until 9:30 and I'm going to be doing the 24-hour readathon. I realized that nobody else wants to do this type of challenge. I was thinking of waiting until somebody was willing to stay up for a full 24 hours, just basically reading. But I decided to do it myself because today is December 30th and going into New Year's Eve with my little own challenge that I always wanted to do seems kind of fun. I wanted to do it before going to college, but I didn't have time. And so this is a really great way for me to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. I'm about to start the timer, but I'm just gonna show you guys on the screen the books that I have on the readathon. There are about 11. I'm obviously not gonna read all of those, but I'm thinking I will probably start with The Perfect Couple. It's like a mystery book. My goal is just to keep reading different genres because I think if I stick with one too long, it'll be a hot mess. Starting. Oh, and by the way, in between reads, I'm probably gonna do something else like bookish posts or scholarships or other little things, but it'll be like half an hour sprints because I really wanna just read. So let's get into it. I am a quarter of the way through the Ellen Hildebrand book, The Perfect Couple. It's 10:53, so I've been reading for about an hour. I'm 20% of the way through, and it's really interesting so far, but I keep yawning, guys. And this is only the first book at the beginning of the 24-hour readathon. I'm gonna have to get some energy drinks to really be prepared because looking at it now, I don't know. I literally made sure to get like 10 hours of sleep last night so that I would be ready. But it's almost like sometimes you get more sleep, you're yawning more and you're feeling more tired. Maybe because I haven't been sleeping that much on a daily basis. But yeah, so far it's interesting. I'm hearing based on reviews that it's not the best ending, but honestly, the ending isn't as important as the process and just the enjoyment of the story. Also, this is technically the third book in the series, so I feel weird that I'm not like reading it from the beginning, but apparently they're all like sort of like standalones. It's just that some characters pop in from other books. So right now it doesn't seem like I need any other background information because there is a murder and basically the chief is interviewing or like interrogating every single person, so you kind of hear through his perspective what this person means to the rest of the group. So that's helping me. It's cool. I think I'll enjoy this one, so I'm excited. I just want to keep my eyes open because right now I'm like yawning and I'm wondering if this is too comfortable of a little spot, but anyway. Oh, also, I wanted to tell you guys about Fable. I'm not even sponsored by them. That would be like a dream sponsorship if they do those. But it's so much better than Goodreads, so much more organized. Your stats are so much cuter, and it's just a really fun time. I love the way they designed the app. They have you do like reading streaks, which will help me in 2025 because I've really been falling off the reading thing. Like by now I would have hit 75 books, but I'm only at 72, which is obviously very close to the goal. But it's also December 30th, and normally I finish my goal halfway through, and the goal is usually 100 books. So you can see that like there's been a decline, and it's not about the amount of books you read, but I think I've also been in so many large slumps and not reading for like weeks and weeks on end. So that's another reason why I'm doing this readathon, just to read, like just read fun books, really get into them, and just do what I used to do when I was a kid, just to relive that for the last couple days of 2024. I am 89% through, basically almost done, and this is so stressful because everybody sucks and everybody's doing something wrong, and I am so bad at guessing who does anything in any thriller mystery book. So I have no idea what's happening. And I hear that the ending is bad, and I'm like, there's like barely any time left. So what is the answer to this? Oh gosh. I'll see you guys. I finished my first book of the Readathon, and I am so conflicted. I gave it 4 stars. It was enjoyable. Every part seemed important. It really it kind of reminded me of my experience reading The Silent Patient. But at the end of the day, I was like the ending was kind of weird. It felt kind of flat a little bit. It was, I don't know. There's a lot of secrets in this story. So the mystery is really like, what is each person at the wedding doing and what are their problems? And I feel like the ending felt a little bit more rushed and people came in last minute that I feel like we would have seen earlier. I hear that the show is actually better and has a better ending, so I'm curious to see what that will look like. But that is it for that book. To be honest, I'm not sure what I want to read next. So I'm gonna take a lunch break. I'm just gonna do lunch. I'm not gonna do little book breaks yet because I feel like the last book was so long that the momentum was really hard to get, and it was also early in the morning and I kept yawning, maybe because I haven't been up that early in a while. So I want to get back to how it was and really focus. I was originally going to listen to an audiobook while I was eating, but I need a little bit more of a break so that I can actually focus on the next book. So I'm gonna give myself that. Guys, I don't know what to read, honestly. I'm looking at the list. That's basically the only ones I'm thinking are the ones on that list. I want to read Uglies just because I want to watch the movie and then see all the reactions to it being bad. But because the movie just came out, it's hard to find it anywhere. Oh wait, never mind. I got the book. I think that's what I'm gonna be reading. So far, I'm just reading books that have something out on Netflix, which is a complete accident because I have way too long of a watch list, but it's okay. This is a book I've been wanting to read for years, and I've been such a big dystopian fan for so long. It's about time, so we're gonna start right now. And by the way, if the readathon's a little weird because I haven't been reading every single minute, every single hour, please don't mind that. I'm basically pulling an all-nighter to see how many books I can read within a 24-hour period with minimal distractions. But I know in some videos they pause the timer and then they start it back. I'm just going to power through and see how many books I can read without falling asleep. So that's about it. I'm gonna start reading Uglies right now. So it's 4:30 and I am halfway through Uglies. It's really interesting. It definitely takes me back to all our dystopian days with Hunger Games, Shatter Me, Divergent, but it's actually on its own, you know? The others, you feel like they're from the same universe, but it's kind of like The Selection, where it's its own version of dystopian that I've never really read before. There's some parts that are a little draggy, but it's an interesting concept and I'm curious to see what will be happening next. But now it's 4:30, which means in December, the sun is already set. So I'm hoping I can stay awake because I keep yawning a lot. So I'm hoping that doesn't mean I'll just fall asleep. I just want to keep reading and finish the book before dinner. Then I might do Secret Garden as my next book. because I've been wanting to read that classic specifically. So I will update you guys when the book is done.
I just wanna know if you my friend. I just wanna know if you pretending. I know I've been away.
2 books down. I finished Uglies. I really liked it. I think I'm gonna give it 4.25 and maybe even finish the series because it was really interesting in the second half, and I never really predicted what would happen, but this whole concept about ugly versus pretty, it's so much commentary baked in, and this is an older book, and I'm seeing already that it will be relevant, and it can be relevant now. Just like this idea of surgery changing the way you think, but you look conventionally attractive and you suddenly forget what you were like before. Like, it's so interesting, and I don't know if I'm gonna like the movie. We'll see, but I definitely want to watch it and, you know, see what happens. I was gonna read Secret Garden, but for some reason I'm never wanting to open it first. I have some books on my Kindle that I still wanted to read at some point. One of those is My Dark Vanessa, because I did a creative writing piece earlier this year about abuse, and somebody recommended this book because there's a lot of psychological abuse in it, and it's definitely a book I've heard about but never really picked up. So I wanted to continue my different genre run and go with this one. The classic will always be there. I even have a nonfiction, a romance. So maybe if there's so much more time in the night, I could do this one, a classic, a romance, another thriller, just like really mix it up. But for now, taking another really quick break, or I'll just continue reading until I'm ready to eat again. That's probably what I'll do. Okay, I just had to stop for a second because it's so disturbing, guys. Oh my gosh. I'm only 27% of the way through. I'm definitely gonna finish it. I definitely feel like it's a read that you can get through in terms of pacing, but in terms of content, it's so disturbing. Like, I think in the time lapse, it's just gonna be me looking like disgusted the whole time because, oh, it's like, definitely check trigger warnings for this one. It's kind of along the same lines of Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. That was a book that I fell in love with because she's so graphic with it, so detailed, and it's really hard to read, but it's also really important. And this is even more important, I think, and so it's a little better than, you know, Colleen Hoover's book Too Late is the same concept as Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan, but because the person who is abusing the power was the person getting the point of view and the chapters and their perspective, it was really, really hard. I just couldn't handle it. But Long Shot, I feel like getting the right perspectives helped me. And so in this one, it's also helping me because you're seeing the reality of the situation and not some even more twisted view of it. But it's so gross. And I'll talk about the end, what this is about, just because I can't even right now I can't even really say, but I'm gonna definitely finish this one. I like twisted books, but I also react really heavily to them. So I don't know if this is a book where I'm gonna cry out of anger or if I'm just gonna be like wanting to pray. We will see. It's 4 minutes before the 12-hour mark hits, and I finished my Dark Vanessa, so I guess that means I can technically read 3 books within 12 hours with minimal interruptions. I have to sit on this rating because I almost don't want to rate it, either not rate it or give it a really high rating, but I don't know between 4 and 5 what would feel appropriate. And I feel like my 5-star reads are normally normal or a little more. There's something that I feel like I could genuinely tell somebody it was a 5-star read because this is what I loved about it. But this story was so twisted that I'm like, can I really say that in confidence? And like, how would I go about that? So My Dark Vanessa is basically about Vanessa's relationship with a teacher when she was a sophomore in high school. And that's basically all you need to know that it's really twisted and just heartbreaking, because it's so much time that's passed and so many people that get involved and know about the situation, and nothing feels fully resolved, sadly, which makes it really realistic to our world. But it's also really sad because it makes me think about all the times that this must have happened in real life where nothing happened. The man didn't face any repercussions for it. It's a little bit heavy to think about, but the writing was great. I don't have any complaints about that. I think I just need to sit with my rating and just read something a little bit lighter. So I think I'm gonna go with The Secret Garden next. And then I have some other ones. I think it's pretty cool that I've read different genres so far, and I'm probably going to just read different genres and not repeat them, because I used to read mostly romance. And over the past couple months, I feel like what's kept me out of a slump the most is reading so many different genres. So I think I've cracked my little code, and it's the thing that I've always resisted because I like the same thing all the time. I'm usually like, I want to be consistent. I like the same color. I like the same schedule. I like everything organized, and I don't deal with change very well. But one little thing with books is that change makes it more exciting and it keeps you really interested throughout. So I think that will definitely be the key in keeping me awake. So I'm probably gonna do Secret Garden. There's a YA book I want to read. There's also a romance, and there's also a nonfiction. So probably gonna go through those and we'll see where I end up. But let me like fake get ready for bed. I'm gonna wash my face, put on my bonnet. You'll have to deal with the bonnet because my hair is getting worse by the second. And I'm probably gonna move locations to my desk just because this will become so comfy that I'm gonna probably fall asleep, and I don't wanna do that. So let's move to phase 2. Oh yeah, I also hit my 75 book goal. I'm so happy because I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to do it, because during this past couple of weeks I haven't been reading anything, even though I've had the time. So I'm really happy I'm doing this readathon. I'm so excited to read more books, and I'm really glad I reached my goal, even though I did lower it from 100 to 75 this year, which I never thought I would. But we accomplished something. I'm so happy. There are a little bit under 9 hours left, and this is the hardest stretch, so I definitely have some little tricks on hand. But I just finished Secret Garden, and I think I would give it 3.75. Definitely a cute classic. I really remember loving it growing up. I ended up reading up until like the last 2 chapters when I was younger than 10 or something like that. And I remember really liking it, but it was not as good as I remember, but it was still really beautiful, and all the characters growing over the course of such a short little story was really cute. And it's really interesting though to see the way that it's written and just how the writing style changes so much. There's certain vocabulary words that you wouldn't use in modern day, so it's really bizarre to kind of hear them in a different context. I just realized I haven't really been giving many summaries, but it's basically about Mary, who lived in India with her mom. After her mom died, she moved to her uncle's house in England, and basically he has these gardens, and there's this one garden that he kept hidden away because it reminded him of his late wife. And there's also some other secrets going around in the huge house, and Mary just explores it. So it's kind of like this cute, aesthetic, beautiful story, and I really liked it. I was pulled away because I was FaceTiming my friends for a good bit. So originally I was gonna take a little break and watch Friends, but I'm probably gonna do that after the next book. This one was great. I'm definitely nervous for the next 8 hours because I usually get tired around this time, but I'm gonna be reading Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl by Joya Goffney, and she did Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. She's a really good YA author, and her books, from what I remember, are very fast-paced, so it should be a good one to read at this time of night. It's almost 3 a.m. I finished the book. I loved it. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't even know where to start. I gave it a 4.75. I think there's some things I'll get into right now, but overall, so good. I love Joya Goffney. She's maybe going to become a new favorite author based on her past books that I've read. But this is so special, and there's so many reasons why. It's a commentary on religion and living in a religious household, and how that doesn't help parents talk about sex openly with their children, and proper like safe sex education and all of those little things, along with like just what it feels like to be the daughter of a pastor and having all these expectations on yourself, and all of these really important topics, especially for high schoolers. It was just really good, and all of the characters actually had personalities. They were all interesting, memorable. I loved Monique. I could relate to her heavy outside of the having a boyfriend thing, but the rest of it was very relatable. Just having that passion for writing, first of all, publishing, all of that, which is what I'm interested in. And then her sister is illustrator, she's an artist, and she's like, I want to be the artist for your first book. And it reminds me of my dynamic with my little sister, who will probably do the same thing. But I just got excited at all those little things. It's a Black family, really good. Like, this is why representation matters. All the different little references, being in the church, the Black church experience, all the little like TV things like Spider-Man, and the music that they listen to. And also there was an Ariana Grande reference, which I love. It was out of nowhere, but she's my favorite artist, so all of those little things made me so happy. But this is just a long-winded way of saying it was such a well done premise. I don't think anybody's really written something like this before, so it feels really heartfelt and actually realistic. It came from a place where like she knows that experience. My little things are, one, I feel like we ended where none of them seemed like they were really religious, or they didn't tie it back to religion, because there was this conversation about you can have these conversations, you don't have to be perfect. If it happens, make sure it's safe. But we never ended on like a conclusion about the religion part. Like, how does she feel about God? How does she think God will think about her, and all of those little things. So I feel like that was missing a little bit from the teens, and then also the parents and their lessons religious wise. But I think the author just didn't want to make that the focus, although I think it could have really added a little conclusion. And another thing is that the endings for some of the characters felt unrealistic, because some of the parents that were really strict in the beginning, like, I feel like the tie was too perfect. And it was YA, it's YA, so I understand, but I think there's some things that felt a little unrealistic. They made me happy, but I was also like, would this really happen in real life? Probably not. It would probably take more time for a resolution, but I loved it. There was even a little romance. It was so good. There was communication, no third act breakup. Oh my gosh. It was so good, so good. I'm so happy. I'm gonna take a break to watch Friends, like I said, because I really need that break and I don't want to get burnt out. But I've read 5 books, which was my goal, which is why I'm also doing this. And I think the next book I'm probably gonna read is A Man Called Ove. That's a sadder one. I started it a couple months ago, but wasn't in the right headspace for it, so I'm gonna try this again. But first I'm gonna take a break. Even though that was an amazing book, I loved it. So, A Man Called Ove was sad. I didn't sob like everybody was telling me I would, but I teared up at the end because I didn't expect it, I guess. Or like, I didn't expect to be emotional about it. But it was a good book. I gave it 4 stars. It's definitely a different type of writing style. I wasn't really feeling the writing style in the beginning because it's so choppy. It's like short sentences, very straight to the point, and it's like so many little details that you don't think will be important, then they become important later. So I'm not used to that delayed type of emotion, but I think it was really good because it's very character driven and the characters were really interesting, all very different. I loved the main character, Ove. He was very complex, very different type of guy. I love that grumpy trope in any style of book, and to see it with a main character was pretty cool. So I definitely would recommend it. I want to read his other books because I think I would like his other books, but the writing style is definitely a little bit different than what I expected going in. I have about 3.5 hours left. It's 6 a.m. and hey, it's pretty good. So I'm going to do another Friends watch because I realized I was getting kind of tired, so I was leaning on my chair. I was like kneeling on it near the end just so I could be in an uncomfortable enough position that I wouldn't fall asleep, which worked. And for now, I'm probably gonna just like watch Friends. I'm gonna read a quick graphic novel, and then I'm going to dive into Kristen Hanna's sequel to Firefly Lane. I've heard that it's also good, not as good as the first one, but obviously that's pretty much impossible. It's my favorite book of the year. So I'm gonna read this, just a quick way to stay engaged. The colors are fun, and I love Little Women, so I've been wanting to read this off of my shelf. So I guess I'm taking another book out of the TBR jar by finishing this. see the light peeking through the windows. So I made it to the morning, which means I can definitely make it to 9:30. But I finished Meg, Joe, Beth, and Amy, and this is a solid 4-star. I don't have really many complaints. I personally love the classic the best because, you know, nothing can beat it. But they definitely put a really big modern spin on it, from the races, adoption. They just packed all the different things in, and the changes were definitely more for the kids. They didn't go all the way to when the girls were adults. They just ended it with them being like just a little bit older from the beginning, which I think works best for that middle grade age. But I'm curious to see what it would look like if they extended it a little more. Otherwise, it was good. I enjoyed it. I don't think I'll finish Fly Away, but either way, it'll be my last book of 2024, and I will finish it after I take a nap after 9:30 hits. So we are almost at the home stretch, and I've read 6 books, I think. Is it 6 or 7? 7 books. Can't believe that. I beat my goal by a lot. So I'm really, really happy I almost made it. This was really fun. I think I might want to make this an annual thing because I can actually do it. So. 62% of the way through Fly Away. Won't finish it, but it's been a really great journey. 5 more seconds. 24 hours. I wanted to be 66% through, but I ended up being 65% through. Still, what a great challenge. I actually read so much. I stayed up, and although I'm tired and in the past couple of hours I've been like nodding off a little bit, I've been able to keep myself awake. I would like kneel on the chair and like lean so that my body was not feeling comfortable enough to be like just knocked out. So that was really great, and this was fun. I loved this. I think I would do this another year because this definitely made me feel better about the overall reading year. I had such ups and downs. Some months were great, and then like closer to the end of the year they just kind of tapered off. I started to forget everything I read in the earlier months, and it felt like the year was all disjointed reading wise because it was such a busy year for me in all the other aspects. So it was nice to read books. They were all good, by the way, all good books, and to actually like have a really good time. And that's my type of fun, so I think I would do it again. Quick recap on all the books I read. So the first one was The Perfect Couple. I gave that 4 stars. A murder mystery where the maid of honor drowns in the water on the beach wedding setting, and they have to figure out who did it. It was good. I think the ending was a little weird and abrupt, but otherwise good. Uglies was surprisingly good. Follows Uglies versus Pretties, and there are some rebels, and the main character is an ugly who has to go and rat them out. Really good. 4.25, but I definitely want to see more, and I think that's the point of the series, is that she's building for something bigger. Then I read My Dark Vanessa. I'm not sure whether to give it 4.75, 5, or nothing right now, but it was really well written. The author really had a good grasp on how the sick and twisted minds of pedophiles can look like. So I think that made it really realistic, but I don't know if it's worth rating or just leaving it as that book. Then I read The Secret Garden, 3.75, cute, fun, nostalgic, but I wouldn't return to it necessarily. Then I read Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl. That was my favorite one, 4.75. Could be even a 5 on some days, but I'm thinking 4.75. Really good discussions on the church and that environment, and especially the Black church and just that community that it can look like. So I really loved that. Then I read A Man Called Ove. That was 4 stars. Really emotional, immersive, but just not as memorable as I expected it based on the ratings and the reviews, because it has like a 4.4 on Goodreads and Fable and all those different platforms. Then I did the graphic novel Meg, Job, Beth, and Amy. That was 4, cute, fun, took me back to the classic, but it made me just want to rewatch the classic movie and reread the classic book. And then finally, I would call this like 7 2/3, is Fly Away. So far it's good. Probably wouldn't give it more than 4 because it's just all depressing. It's just all about grief, and it doesn't have the charm that the first book had because of a very obvious missing member, but it's still Kristen Hanna. I still love her writing. So, you know, I'm appreciating it, and I watched the show already, so I already know the little things that they tried to incorporate from this book into the show, so it's kind of cool to see what they pulled from. That will be all. Thank you guys for watching if you made it this far. If you made it this far, put a little like sleep emoji or something in the comments and let me know if you've read any of the books that I read, if you have any recommendations based on the books I read. And I will see you guys next time very soon because I'm doing a bunch of wrap-up videos, especially to make up for the lack of videos for the past like 3 months. So I will see you guys soon. Like and subscribe. Bye!